was the golden age of WWE tag teams? Was it the latter half of the 80s when the Hart Foundation, British Bulldogs and Demolition reigned long term? Or was it the turn of the century when Edge and Christian, the Hardys and Dudleys made three specific weapons trendy? Whether the scene was prosperous or lean, WWE has never been short on popular duos, the sheer majority of whom had at least one run with a set of belts. Of course, there have been exceptions to that, as there have been tag teams of note that never did win WWE Gold together. And some golden exceptions are a little more shocking than others. I'm Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 teams that never won WWE Tag Titles together. Join us! Number 10. The Powers of Pain. In the spring of 1988, Barbarian and Warlord departed from Jim Crockett Promotions, quickly making their way to New York. There, they quickly sized up across from reigning champs Demolition in what seemed like a natural matchup. Barbarian was an underrated heavyweight worker, whereas the staggeringly muscle-bound Warlord was admittedly a little bit more limited. Still, the Powers of Pain were a popular team with youth and presence on their side. All those positive attributes made it surprising that the two never did earn a run with the belts. They feuded off and on with Axe and Smash during the course of the Demo's lengthy first title reign, only to come up short. After Demolition moved on to the Brainbusters, Barbarian and Warlord mostly treaded in tag team limbo until the early months of 1990, when they were separated and each given new aesthetics to go along with respective singles pushes. With the Road Warriors coming in, Vince probably didn't want three face-painted teams on his roster. The Powers were the odd duo out, and their partnership ended without triumph. Number 9. The Fabulous Rougeau Brothers. Yes, technically, brothers Jack and Raymond did win the WWF World Tag Team titles. In August 1987, the pair were filmed defeating the Hart Foundation for the belts at a house show in their native Montreal, but it was strictly to get footage for a local newscast. The title change was otherwise completely ignored. It sounds a bit strange, but perhaps not as strange as the Rougeaus never getting to win the belts otherwise. Timing may have been the biggest culprit that prevented a Rougeau reign. As babyfaces, Jacques and Raymond found themselves stuck behind the British Bulldogs and intended future champs the Can-Am Connection, later amended to Strikeforce after Tom Zenk quit and was replaced by Tito Santana. And during their time as heels, the Rougeaus were a mid-card duo working beneath long-term champs Demolition and short-term holders the Brainbusters. Raymond was all but retired by 1990, leaving Jacques to go solo as the Mountie. Jacques later enjoyed 3 reigns with the WWF belts alongside Pierre as the Quebecers, but never enjoyed an official reign with his older brother. Number 8. 3-Minute Warning. Now here's a team that checked a lot of WWE boxes. Big, beefy, and part of the Anoa'i bloodline. Rikishi's younger brother Jamal, the future Umaga, and Roman Reigns' big brother Rosie tore up WWE developmental as the Island Boys before getting called up to the big time in 2002. Introduced by Eric Bischoff, Jamal and Rosie grievously assaulted anybody whom Bischoff felt was a detriment to his Raw brand telecasts. With such a high-profile arrival, you'd think 3-Minute Warning, named after Bischoff's time limit for acts he had little faith or interest in, would have ascended to the belts fairly quickly. Instead, they got sidetracked into a lengthy mid-card feud with the reformed Dudley Boys and gradually lost momentum. Jamal was subsequently let go from the company after some out-of-the-ring incidents, leaving Rosie to get repackaged as Hurricane's unlikely superhero sidekick. Those two earned a reign with Raw's belts in 2005, but nothing in WWE for Jamal and Rosie together. It's one of the more unlikely misfires along the extended bloodline. Number 7. The Killer Bees. When WWE collected wrestlers from all the territories in the mid-80s, they took 2 modest babyfaces with considerable skill and paired them together. Agile AWA star Jim Brunzell and Florida veteran Brian Blair, christening them the Killer Bees. From 1985 to 1988, Blair and Brunzell were omnipresent in a loaded WWF tag team division, working with every significant heel duo from the Hearts to the Dream Team to Nikolai Volkov and Blair's good buddy, the Iron Sheik. The Bees were high profile enough to be serious title contenders, working often with then-champs Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake during the Bees' first year as a unit. When the Bulldogs defeated the Dream Team at WrestleMania 2, that all but dashed the Bees' chances at the gold, since Davey Boy and Dynamite were fixing to hold the belts long-term. By 1987, Blair and Brunzell waded a little deeper into the mid-card, farther away from the title picture. And come mid-1988, the two went their separate ways as far as the WWF was concerned, ending a 3-year gold-free partnership. Number 6. Enzo Amore and Big Cass. He may have earned his share of polarizing takes in the years since, but Enzo Amore was at one time one of the most quotable stars on the WWE roster. His entire pre-match spiel was recited by fans in road dog-like fashion, while his other unorthodox turns of phrase fell on similar open ears. Lest we forget, pre-main roster debut, a large WrestleMania crowd chanted "How you doin'" at a less popular Roman Reigns. Acknowledge Roman if you must, but facts are facts. In the year plus that WWE kept Enzo and the 7-foot-tall Cass together, they never won either Raw or SmackDown's version of the tag team titles, despite being more over than every other WWE tandem outside the New Day. By 2017, the bloom was apparently off the rose backstage for Enzo, necessitating separating the two and trying a singles push for Cass. Timing and other issues, perhaps even a couple of haters in the office, prevented WWE from pulling the championship trigger on Enzo and Cass. Number 5. The Twin Towers. In 1988, Slick brought together two super heavyweight clients, the 350-pound Big Boss Man and 450-pound one-man gang reborn as Akeem, creating the Twin Towers, 2/5 of a ton of unyielding force. Though Bossman and Akeem were primarily nemesis of singles stars / super team Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, they did face static duos like Demolition, The Hearts, and Rockers in notable outings. It must also be said that Bossman and Akeem weren't always a steady team either, as Bossman was way too talented a heavy not to utilize in singles action. See his cage matches with Hulk. But the Towers did team regularly enough that they could have been feasible champions for a spell, long enough for their dethroning at the hands of a babyface tandem to have real meaning. Alas, after 16 months as a team, the Towers split in early 1990 after Bossman turned babyface. Heel duos of that size don't come around very often, so it's a minor lost opportunity that the Towers didn't tote the gold, even for a little while. Number 4. The Allied Powers. Sometimes a tag team comes about when you've got nothing better to do with two individuals. In the leaner new generation, WWE inexplicably had no real singles plans for either Lex Luger or Davey Boy Smith. So, they sellotaped them together as a patriotic cross-Atlantic tandem, gave them a kick-ass synth rock theme song with fife accompaniment, and stuck them in a tag team division needing a strong babyface duo. Seeing as the champions were Luger and Smith's respective rivals Yokozuna and Owen Hart, two other singles stars suddenly forged together, you'd think the Allied Powers would be just the team to dethrone the sworn heels for the gold. But Luger and Smith fell short to the champs at the July 1995 In Your House, and never received another high-profile shot at the belts. Instead, Smith was planned for a heel turn with Luger penciled in as his singles rival for the months ahead. But instead of that feud, Luger jumped to WCW in a historic moment, leaving the Allied Powers and their failed title hopes behind him. Number 3. The Bushwhackers. Long before they were the Bushwhackers, Luke Williams and Robert Butch Miller were one of pro wrestling's most ornery and brutal duos, trading under names like the Kiwis and the Sheep Herders. So it was quite a role reversal in 1988 when Luke and Butch went from bloodthirsty brawlers to lovable weirdos under the Bushwhackers banner. Despite both men being well into their 40s, the Whackers persisted in WWE for the better part of the next 8 years. That 8-year run came and went without tag team gold, though perhaps it's not at all surprising. At their ages, Luke and Butch were more comedy act than contender, serving as WWE's ambassadors in various charity endeavors, particularly those involving children. Inside the ring, the Bushwhackers were more used as a playful attraction, utilizing slapstick against hapless heels and putting smiles on spectators' faces. It's not a bad way to make a living decades into one's wrestling career, and hey, pretending to bite your opponent's gotta be easier on the body than getting dragged across barbed wire. Number 2, Crime Time. One of the more mystifying omissions to WWE's collective tag title histories is that of Shad Gaspard and JTG, Brooklyn's favorite tag team. Though there were questions about the stereotypes portrayed in Crime Time's act, there's no doubt that the duo were extremely over with crowds. Shad and JTG were certainly not short on charisma, and they stood out in an era with many established main eventers and valuable upper mid-carders. So it's definitely a little odd that Crime Time never got that big score in the form of 2 title belts. Instead, everyone else from the Hardy Boys, the Spirit Squad, Cade and Murdoch, Deuce and Domino, the Colons, Hawkins and Ryder, and others paraded around with the straps, while 2 of John Cena's closest on-screen allies completely got the shaft. It's one of the more inexplicable cases of a WWE duo, one that crowds merrily chanted along with, getting deprived of even one reign with the belts. Shad and JTG made an indelible mark on the late Ruthless Aggression / early PG era of WWE, and did so without any tag gold. And number 1, The Rockers. Technically, ****, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty did win the WWE World Tag Titles together in 1990. However, one of the strangest twists of fate intervened while filming the match where the Rockers won the belts from fellow babyfaces the Hart Foundation. A broken rope and the referee's unwillingness to call time for a reattachment begat a wonky, unairable match, followed by Vince choosing to scrap the title change altogether. That was as close as Michaels and Jannetty came to winning the WWE belts. One of the most popular duos to ever set foot in a WWE ring, the Rockers generally rated no worse than 3rd on the babyface side of the Federation tag depth chart, but were penciled in for a decent reign to begin the 90s. Instead, plans changed, and the Rockers split 1 year later via the barbershop window. Michaels and Jannetty went on to hold the belts with other partners, but never officially together. The Rockers' 3.5 years as a WWE tag team ended, to the surprise of all, without a verified reign as tag champs.